I'm 24 and I have finished 3 100-mile races. The first one I finished, I was 21, and I've learned a lot about speed and recovery throughout that process. I happened to win one of the 100-mile races, so obviously I had to have a little bit of speed to do that. And I wanted to talk about some of the things I've learned. I'm going to give you the theme or the mantra for this video, and that is you're not overtrained, you're under recovered. That can be a very black and white statement. I know if you're running 200 miles a week for 100 years, at some point you're probably going to be overtrained. And yes, that's an exaggeration, obviously. I just want to hit the point that, okay, of course, overtraining is a real thing. I think sometimes we jump to that too soon as athletes, or I can speak for myself, where I thought I was overtrained when really I wasn't doing the right things to recover. I've had periods of my life where I was sleeping like 6, 5 hours a night and then still running a lot, and then I would be beat or a couple runs would go pretty poor and I just feel too drained. And my first thought would be, well, maybe I'm overtraining. And then my second thought would be like, well, dumbass, you're not sleeping 8 hours a night or 9 hours a night like you need because of how much you're training. And so that's just one element of it, right? So I want to talk about some of the things I've done for recovery, and I hopefully can instill into the people watching this and to you guys that maybe you're not overtraining. Like, I get messages on Instagram or comments where it's like I'm just destroyed or I'm not where I used to be and I can't run as much, and I have empathy for that. I've been there, and I want to hopefully get across that maybe it's not an overtraining issue for those individuals. I don't know. Like, you're going to have to figure that out for yourself. But when I reflect back on my last 5, 6 years of consistently running, a lot of the times it's just that I'm not recovering enough or I'm not eating enough, for example. And so let's talk about some of the main points I've learned from those 100-mile races and one of the things I did to win that 100-mile race, which falls more into that speed category. But when it comes to recovery, we all know sleep. Yep, okay, you need to sleep enough. Now, we know about nutrition and eating good food, but I think one of the things I've come to understand is I'm eating way less than what I need. And so I've started to implement more snacks, higher calorie protein shakes, things like that. Because if I run, I don't know, 16 miles on a Saturday and I burn like 1,500, 2,000 calories, something like that, well, I burn that with exercise, but also what you just burn throughout the day walking around or while you sleep, and maybe you walk the dogs or whatever, you're just burning tons and tons of calories when it comes to running. And so if you only have 3 meals and maybe they're from 500 to 1,000 calories, you might replenish what you burned out and give you like kind of this neutrality where, okay, calories out, I match what I brought in. But then what if I have to run on Sunday or ride the bike or I go on a hike with friends and then Monday I have my next run? The point I'm trying to get at is a lot of the times I think I am able to match what I did, but I'm not giving enough for the next workout or the next activity. And so I need to probably get more into tracking calories, but basically what I'm at the mindset of eating as much as I possibly can because I'm doing so much. And maybe some days I overdo it, but I look at that as a good thing because, okay, maybe I put on half a pound of fat or whatever, right? Then I'm going to use that up in my running or during my next long run or maybe during a speed workout. And so a lot of my mental fatigue throughout the day after training, I thought was just maybe me not being passionate about what I'm doing or maybe I didn't get enough sleep. But I'm coming more and more to the understanding that maybe it's just I don't have enough fuel. Like the brain burns up, like the brain needs energy too, the heart needs energy, and so I'm realizing that I need to eat more than I have been in the past, and that's just one element of recovery, because yes, protein and calories and carbs and fats, all of that stuff is going to help you recover. I don't need to just recover, I need to be able to make sure I have enough fuel for the next week of training, the next day of training, the next gym session, the next run, whatever it is. And so I just offer for you to reflect on how much you're burning, how much you're eating. Are you tired throughout the day? I think we as humans should be able to exercise and also have all the energy we need for life, for work, for family, for friends. And so, sure, maybe you're not sleeping enough. Sure, maybe you have some dopamine problem because you scroll too much on Instagram, but also maybe it might be a nutrition thing and you just don't have enough to get into the next workout or the next activity. So that's just one thing. Like if I'm training for ultras, I'm burning a ton of calories because I'm doing back-to-back long runs or things like that. And it's just important to reflect on, hey, are you getting enough? Not just to hit that neutral point where you're equal in what you've burned and what you've consumed, but also do you have what you need for the next activity, the next workout, the next run? So that's just one thing. A second thing that I felt and I found has gone a very long way. I actually just have this right here. It's like a massage gun. 5 minutes of that goes a very long way. Not just in preparation for the next run, but let's say I run 10 miles in the morning before work, and I typically sit at a chair for most of the day. If I do that halfway through the day or during lunch, I feel much better. And so you don't have to do a whole hour mobility routine. Like, sure, do that. I love yoga too. I love that kind of stuff. I'm just saying, if you have 5 minutes, maybe instead of scrolling through Instagram, you grab a massage gun if you have it. And if you don't, then you could just stretch instead. I think that's also great too. And that goes a very long way in just general feel throughout the day. But I've also noticed if I did like a super long run on Saturday and I'm doing a back-to-back long run for ultra training, so Sunday I'm running 15 miles, I ran 25 on that Saturday before, using a Theragun or a massage gun right before that run just has always seemed to help me feel better. So that's a really good source of recovery, and I think that's a big part of me being able to not only do back-to-back long runs, but do it without having injuries or fighting through a knee pain or something like that. So that can go a long way. If you don't have that, you don't want to spend a couple $100s on that, I get it. I would just stretch. I think that's just as helpful. Which leads me into my third point, and then we'll talk about speed. One thing that has just helped me avoid injuries for a very long time, I don't really get shin splints or things like that anymore, and who's to say I won't get it in the future? I'm just saying, as I was running, like I set a 50-mile course record, I also set a 100-mile course record. Those happen within about 5 months of each other. I surprised myself with how little of injuries I got or any pain I got. It wasn't like debilitating where I had to just take months off of training. One thing that I swear by that has really helped is just stretching 5 to 10 minutes after every single run. So I've said this on this channel before and in probably tons of videos, that I would rather I have to reduce my volume by a mile per run or half a mile per run to make the time for the stretching right after the run than be able to say, look at me, I ran, 60 miles, right? Excuse me. And so if you have time for stretching, just make it, right? Like I want my 10-mile run and I want stretching, but let's say I'm short on time. I will cut that run 10 minutes short, 5 minutes short, so I can stretch right away and then I can get ready for work or whatever I have to do. So I think it's good practice to just stretch 5 to 10 minutes after every single run. Similar to the Theragun, helps me feel better throughout the whole day. And the reason why I like doing it immediately after a run, not before, but right after, is because I'm warm. And if I ran for 10 miles, obviously my muscles were pushing, contracting, pulling. And so as I cool down, I feel myself get a little tighter and I can feel the impact throughout the day. And so if I catch that right when I'm warm, I can loosen things up right before I get on with my day. And so I like the idea of stretching right after a run before I even go inside. And it's easy not to do. It's also easy to do. And so I do simple quad, hamstring, and calf stretch, bare minimum. Sometimes I throw in some more like stretching out my hips or back or whatever. But I want to at least get my quads, hamstrings, and calves stretched out because I just feel better, and I have a core belief that the majority of injuries boil down to either a lack of strength or a lack of mobility, flexibility. It makes sense to me that if my quad is incredibly tight, my IT band is incredibly tight, of course it's going to be pulling on my knee and I feel some sort of knee pain. So I've had anecdotal, yes, experiences where I have had some sort of knee pain and then I stretch it out for a couple days or 10 minutes and then that knee pain goes away and it doesn't bother me for another run. Yeah, it's anecdotal. It works for me, and I've had enough people tell me stretching's helped them with pain and injuries too that I'm just a firm believer in it. So I don't think you necessarily need to do 3-hour-long yoga sessions a week. I think that would be great. Nothing wrong with it. But we're all humans with families and jobs and the same 24 hours that can get really busy. And so 5-10 minutes after every single run goes a long way. Now, what I wanted to talk about with speed, this was with ultra running. Yes, there's the interval work and mile repeats and fartlek runs and things like that. One thing I like to do, which might have been more of a mental benefit, but I do feel like it helped me, one, set the course record at a 50-mile race, and then also set the course record at the time. Both records have been broken since I set them, but that 100-mile race, that was my second 100-mile race I completed, and I had won. And one of the things that I swear helped me with that is not just back-to-back long runs, but what I would do sometimes, it wasn't common like every weekend thing, is I would do like a 30-mile long run on Saturday and then a 20-mile long run on Sunday. I would throw in some tempo miles on that second long run. And I'm sure there's a potential to get injured, and like that might be a lot of load on the body, absolutely. But going back to the premise I said at the beginning of this video is I'm not overtrained, I'm just under recovered. If I did the right things throughout that first long run, that 30-mile long run on Saturday, like doing an Epsom salt bath, stretching, eating enough, getting enough sleep that night, and then waking up to do the 20-mile long run on Sunday, of course I'm tired. Like, of course my legs are pretty heavy, but I feel like generally I have the strength and flexibility to be able to not only do that run, but then throw in some speed miles. And so it wasn't like I was setting any mile personal bests or anything. But if maybe I can run a 6:30 or a 6-minute mile when I'm like recovered on that Sunday second long run, it might be more of a 7:30. Sometimes I was able to squeeze out a 6:30, but it wasn't sustainable. But the point is that I learned how to run fast on tired legs, and so I was able to push later into a 100-mile race or a 50-mile race than the first time I did 100 or the first time I did 50, where I was just trying to get it done. So if that's where you're at, you're just trying to do it for the first time, I don't think you necessarily need to do this, but I found huge mental benefit from doing speed workout on that second long run, because walking away from that, I'd be like, wow, I did 30 miles yesterday, I did 20 miles today, and I was able to run some sub 7-minute miles on that second long run. It helped me learn how to run fast on tired legs. So I don't know what the science is behind it, but I do know if you want to get faster, you have to run fast. And so if we talk about typical speed work for a half marathon, 10K, whatever, you have your speed workout where you push your limits to get faster. Well, I was doing the same thing with that back-to-back long run where I would push my limits by running faster on super tired legs. And I mean, I have the backup to show that, I did win a couple of these ultras, and that seemed to help me do that. So, of course, there's so many other variables. I've been running for a couple of years, but maybe you're at the point where you want to be a little bit faster in ultras, and maybe you need to start throwing in a couple, doesn't have to be crazy, but some tempo miles on super tired legs. And then, of course, be safe and listen to your body and do the right things to be recovered so you don't hurt yourself, right? Because no one wants to do that. So if you're going to hurt yourself by running some tempo miles on a back-to-back long run, I wouldn't necessarily say you should do that. But maybe there's a root problem there that prevents you from being able to do that, and that might be you need to get in the gym, you don't stretch enough, maybe you're not eating enough, right? So there's all sorts of factors there. But if you like running content, this channel is just basically about that. I'm talking about what I've learned from what I'm implementing into training and sharing stories. So if you like that kind of stuff, consider subscribing. If not, I still hope you got something out of this video, and I hope I get to see you in another video sometime soon. Peace.